The meeting is being recorded. Today is March 25th, 2024. The time is 5:02 p.m. We'll call the roll. James Darm Jr.,
Present.
Hillary Stuckey, Pam Walker,
Present.
Thomas Lawson, I see Tom on the Thomas
Oh,
Lawson.
I'm sorry. Present.
That's okay. Onetha Lewis Walls.
Present.
We do have a quorum. We will begin by approving the agenda. Because we're going to be adding the correspondence from the mayor's office, executive order number 79 as amended. It is from the mayor's office, Mayor Tashara O. Jones, dated March 22nd. We're going to add that to new business. And we are going to exclude item 4B and place that on the next agenda if necessary. Some of that I think is going to be reflected in the executive order, and we'll do that under new business. Or I'm sorry, we'll do that under closed session. The correspondence from the mayor's office, the executive order, that is what we'll discuss in closed session. So we're only removing one item, and that is item 4B. We'll table that for next meeting. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to approve.
Been moved by member Thomas Lawson. So
I
seconded.
second.
It's been seconded by member Onetha Lewis Walls. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Contrary minded, nay. Motion carries. We need approval of the March 11, 2024 minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes with any necessary corrections?
I move that we accept the minutes with any necessary corrections.
Been properly moved by member Lewis Walls. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by member Thomas Law. All in favor say aye.
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 Contrary minded, nay. Motion carries. Chairperson's report. We haven't met with the dorm representatives. We were scheduled to meet last week, Wednesday. And I got a correspondence from the CJC at 7:10 a.m. The meeting was scheduled for 9:30. Got an email from the commissioner's office from Ms. Tammy Ross at 7:10 a.m. saying that the meeting had to be postponed because they had not been able to confirm the lawyers for the dorm reps. To be clear to the board members, there's nothing that indicates that we need the lawyers for the dorm reps because we, as we indicated in writing to the commissioner, we told the commissioner what we wanted to discuss. What we wanted to discuss with the dorm reps is basically an introduction of the DFOB members present, our role, our mission, our purpose, process for making complaints, and general condition of the CJC. So we did not feel that there was any necessity to have lawyers present because we were not, and indicated that we were not going to be discussing any issues pertaining to individual reps and or their cases. And so the chair is at a loss as to why we cannot meet with the dorm reps without their counsel present. And we've been given no creditable explanation as to why their lawyers would be necessary for that meeting. We've met with dorm reps in the past without their attorneys present. As I said, I'm at a loss as to why this would be a requirement from the commissioner. Now, I will be putting that concern in writing to the Director of Public Safety and to the commissioner on behalf of, someone's not muted. On behalf of the board, I will be communicating with them, expressing our concern that this meeting with the dorm reps has not taken place as we have requested, and to request that they comply with our request as soon as possible without the lawyers present, because we don't need for that. Once again, it's been 2 years, and we have yet to have access as a board to any of the representatives of the detainees, which to me is inexcusable. So I will be drafting a letter and asking the staff to put that request on our letterhead, and hope to, I will CC board members with that communication so that you can follow the chain of correspondence. But again, there's nothing in the ordinance or anything that we've seen to indicate that it is a requirement for the wing representatives or dorm representatives to be represented by counsel. It seems to me to be just purely absurd and another act of obstruction and denying of accessibility of this board to do our job. Any comments, anything to add from board members regarding that? I will ask the deputy commissioner, do you know of any legal reason per the ordinance that dorm representatives need legal counsel in order for us to meet with them? Is there any legal reason? That question is to staff. I know Ruby is muted right now. Ruby, Louisa, any staff?
Reverend Gray, this is Louisa Lyles. I know that what you stated earlier about going in and talking to the dorm reps, there's never been a situation in which we're talking about their criminal cases. Only thing we were doing when we went to the dorm rep meetings in the past, we explained them that we were with the Civilian Oversight Board and that we existed, and what the procedure was if they wanted to file a complaint. And that was the basis of that. And if they had anything they wanted to discuss with us pertaining to issues inside the jail, then they would do so at that time. But nothing of a criminal nature or involving their cases was ever discussed.
Right. And when you met with them, Ms. Louisa, was there a requirement that legal counsel be represented?
Not at that time. No, not only their legal counsel, or was there any requirement that someone from the city counsel's office be present. It was just the dorm reps, the deputy commissioners, and the caseworkers, and ourselves.
All right. So we will refile our request refile our request, and we will be sure to CC the mayor's office, the director of public safety, the commissioner for the CJC, because again, it just seems very unreasonable on behalf of the CJC to continue to put this type of roadblock in the way of the DFOB simply to introduce ourselves. And again, just to reiterate to the Dawn reps, our roles and responsibility, and to basically just ascertain from them general conditions from the standpoint of dorm reps as it relates to the jail. So we'll do that. Any board members have any comments, any? If there's none, again, someone needs to be muted because we can hear them. I don't know who it is, but unless you are
Amy, can you mute yourself? Amy Haddocks?
I think it's the Galaxy, whoever has the Galaxy S23. Okay, they've been muted. Okay,
I
good.
just muted them.
All right. Thank you very much. Second, under Chair's report, an update on member vacancies. I've communicated with Nicole Barton on a couple of occasions, asking for an update on reappointments and appointments. I do know that there have been a couple of citizens who have submitted application to be appointed. One in particular contacted me personally, said that they had submitted their application back in February. And Nicole did reach back out and communicated. Nicole Barton is the executive director of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. And she did indicate to me that she would be in touch with the person responsible for appointments. And she indicated that she would, that person, Michael McLaurin, McLemore. I did indicate to her that the two concerns that I have is that to date, we have not received in writing any communication as to applicants or any applicants who are in the process, the appointment process, nor have we gotten anything concrete on reappointments. And so I shared that. She indicated to me that she added Mr.
McLemore.
Yeah, him. Mr. McLemore, that she has included him on the email chain. But to date, again, we have not received any information as to appointments or reappointments. And so I'll endeavor to reach back out to them again tomorrow. Hopefully they'll respond by tomorrow. I did indicate to them that as far as this board is concerned, the status of reappointments and appointments is critical to the work of this board. So hopefully they'll respond expeditiously. Any comments regarding that? Board members, any questions, comments? Staff, have you gotten any information, any communication regarding DFOB member vacancies? Okay. I read your lips that time, Ruby. You said we have not.
I said no, I'm sorry.
All right. All right. Let's go into item number 4, staff report. Ruby?
Just one report. And good evening, good afternoon,
Good evening.
Chairperson Gray and members of the board. I am extraordinarily pleased to present to the board a new addition to the DCO family. And her name is Cora Baker. And Cora, you want to just share with the board just a little bit about your background? You're on mute. Okay.
Good evening, board
Good evening.
members and chairperson, Mr. Gray. As she said, my name is Cora Baker. I've been with the division over 20 years. That's Division of Corrections. I worked side by side with the inmates that were remanded to the facility. Made sure their well-being was taken care of, as well as working with my coworkers and making sure my coworkers was well. I'm thankful to be a part of this board, this department. And
What's your position?
my position is a legal investigator 1. And at the Justice Center, I served many years as a supervisor and enjoyed it too. So thank you all. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
And
On behalf,
that's actually all the division has to report,
okay,
Mr. Chairperson.
good. I know that we will have some questions and conversation with and from the staff when we go into closed session. We want to welcome Ms. Baker. Again, as a board, we look forward to working with you. We know that we cannot do our jobs unless staff is able to do theirs. And I think you'll find from Deputy Commissioner Barner, she'll tell you that this board is extremely supportive of the staff. We believe that this staff is some of the most capable and competent and qualified city staff in city government. And once again, we're still working out some kinks, but with your expertise and with your experience, we hope to be able to do justice to the mission and the service in which we've been called. So again, welcome, and we look forward, as I said, to working with you. I will now ask if there is a motion. As I said, the purpose of the closed session will be to discuss with our lawyer representing the city
I'm
attorney.
sorry, Reverend Gray, did we identify the city councilor that's on board? I thought I recognized Michael Garvin, but I'm not certain.
I'm not
We
sure.
will need an attorney representative.
This is
before
Michael
you
Garvin. I'm
entertain
here.
your There you are. That is you. Okay,
Hi, Mr. Garvin.
Okay.
Good to have
Thank
you with
you.
us tonight, Mr. Garvin. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I didn't
and
know who none was.
that would be.
I'm hurt that you didn't recognize me.
I am so sorry because I've known you for many, many years. I should have recognized you, but I wasn't absolutely certain. Welcome.
There you go.
Thank you.
So we need a motion. Again, the purpose for going into the closed session again will be to discuss Executive Order number 79. We do have some questions as a board regarding the executive order. Just we want to be clear what this means for the board and for the staff as we move forward. And I'm sure that a lot of it will be legal in nature, which is why we felt that we needed to go into closed session with this. What we will do, and I don't, because it is a public document, I will ask probably in that closed session, because anybody can get the document. I want to make sure that we probably read it into the record. I don't know if we need to do that before we go into closed session. Can we read this into the record, or can we show it? I don't know which would be easier, Deputy Commissioner. I can read it, but if there are those who want to get a copy of it, I'm sure that they can go to the mayor's office, but I want to make sure that A, it's read into the record, and B, that it is part of our minutes, so that anybody going to whatever whatever is used to pull up the minutes and what is discussed by the DFOB will at least have this information. So if there are no objections, I'll go ahead and read it. And then after I read it, then we'll entertain a vote to go into closed session if no board members have any objection. I ought to ask the secretary to read it, since she's the secretary and she reads much better than me. Plus she has her glasses. I still like that haircut. Pam, I just think that haircut really suits you.
You're just telling me that because you want me to read this long letter.
Well, that was part of it, but that was 20% of it. The other 80% was it's just a good haircut. It fits you. So do you mind, Secretary Walker?
Yeah, I'm looking for it. It came from Ruby, right? Here it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for the board members, everybody should have a copy of that. It was emailed to all of the board members as well. So Secretary
We
Walker.
could also share the screen, I believe.
Okay. If you would do that.
Our
if you would
host
share,
has that. We can put it up on the screen as the secretary reads, if you like.
I think that would be great. If you would do that, that would be extremely helpful.
Antoine?
1 second while I pull it up.
Okay.
Okay, this comes from the Executive Department, Mayor's Office, St. Louis. Executive Order number 79 as amended. Mayor Tashara O. Jones, March 22nd, 2024. An executive order relating to the Division of Civil Oversight of the City of St. Louis and its boards, specifically the Civilian Oversight Board, COB, and the Detention Facilities Oversight Board, DFOB. Whereas the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis passed Ordinance 71749 on November 17th, 2023, and Ordinance 71749 was approved by the Mayor of the City of St. Louis on December 5th, 2023. And whereas Ordinance 71749 repealed Ordinance 71430, which established the Detention Facilities Oversight Board, and amended Ordinance 71647 to reconstitute and clarify the roles of the Division of Civilian Oversight and its boards. And whereas Ordinance 71647 is amended by Ordinance 71749, and subsection 16 provides for a reasonable transition period during which preparatory actions may be set and phased in by executive order of the mayor, and the operational duties of these actions held in abeyance for 6 months from the effective date of the ordinance. And whereas the mayor of the City of St. Louis is given the duty under the charter of the City of St. Louis in Article 8, subsection 11, to determine relative powers and duties of city officers. And whereas the mayor of the City of St. Louis, as chief executive officer of the City of St. Louis, and pursuant to Article 7, subsection 1 of said charter of the City of St. Louis, may examine the affairs and conduct of any department, board, or office, and require of all officers to exhibit their accounts and papers and make reports to him, unquote. Now, therefore, pursuant to the powers vested in me under the laws of the state of Missouri, as well as Article 7 and 8 of the Charter of the City of St. Louis, and the revised code of the city of St. Louis, I, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor and Chief Executive Order of the city of St. Louis, hereby order that the following shall occur on or before June 5th, 2024. The COB and the DFOB shall develop annual oversight work plans as contemplated by the governing legislation, Ordinance 71647, as amended by 71749 and subsections 2C and 8B. Such plans shall be published and delivered to the office of the mayor within the time frame established in 71749 subsection 2C. 2, to the extent permitted by law, the COB shall negotiate and establish protocols regarding the gaining of access, production, and examination of information that may be held by the offices of the circuit attorney, the medical examiner, and the sheriff that are relevant to the COB's oversight authority in the manner prescribed by the governing legislation, Ordinance 71647, Section 8E, as amended by 71749, and a copy of said protocols shall be provided to the office of the mayor as well as made included in the COB's annual report. 3, to the extent permitted by law, the DFOB shall negotiate and establish protocols regarding the gaining of access, production, and examination of information that may be held by the offices of the circuit attorney, the medical examiner, and the sheriff that are relevant to the COB's oversight authority in the manner prescribed by the governing legislation, Ordinance 71647, Section 8E, and amended by 71749, and a copy of said rule shall be provided to the office of the mayor as well as included in the DFOB's annual report. The Division of Civilian Oversight shall establish protocols to ensure that it meets its obligations under the law, that the activities of the division and its boards not in any manner impede, obstruct, hinder, or otherwise interfere with any member of a municipal police force in their performance of their job duties, or with any aspect of any investigation arising from performance of such job duties pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 84.341, and that no administrative or disciplinary investigation activity of the division or its boards interfere with any criminal investigation or civil litigation pursuant to ordinances 71647 as amended by ordinance 71749 at subsections 4B and subsection 8I. 5, the Division of Civilian Oversight shall provide the protocols established pursuant to subsection 4 above to the COB, DFOB, Corrections Commissioner, Police Commissioner, Director of Public Safety, City Councilor, Circuit Attorney, and Office of the Mayor. The DFOB, with the advice of the City Councilor, shall adopt rules, policies, and procedures for the conduct of DFOB business as prescribed in Ordinance 71647, as amended by 71749 at subsection 14A, and a copy of said rules shall be provided to the office of the mayor as well as included in the DFOB's annual report. 7, the Civilian Oversight Division staff, COB members, and DFOB members shall not, in connection with their official duties on behalf of the city of St. Louis, meet, have written or verbal communications, or share information directly, indirectly, or through any medium with legal counsel for complainants or persons who claim to be aggrieved by conduct of a city employee or official without the presence of legal counsel for the city of St. Louis. Oversight Division staff, COB members, and DFOB members shall have an affirmative duty to immediately inform the City Council or her designee of any attempt by such legal counsel to contact or communicate with them regarding matters within their official duties on behalf of the City of St. Louis. 8, the City Council shall, in conjunction with the Department of Personnel, fill the position of Internal Special Counsel as defined in and mandated by Ordinance 71749 sections 4E, and shall provide the designation to the Division of Civilian Oversight, the COB, the DFOB, and the Office of the Mayor. The police commissioner and city council, or number 9, the police commissioner and city council shall begin the reporting mandated by ordinance 71749 at subsections 4B(a) and 8I. 10. The COB and the DFOB shall give notice of their meetings and provide tentative agendas to the police commissioner, director of public safety, city councilor, circuit attorney, and office of the mayor at least 7 days before their respective meetings, unless impossible or impractical, to aid in compliance with the reporting requirements mandated by ordinance 71749 and subsections 4BA and 8I. If an emergency meeting is called, notice and tentative agenda shall be provided as soon as practicable, and any such emergency shall be documented in the resulting public meeting. And it is so ordered in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the city of St. Louis this 22nd day of March 2024, signed by Tashara O. Jones, and it's attested to by Amber Boykin Sims, who is the city registrar.
Thank you so much, Secretary Walker. We have read into the minutes, the executive order number 79 dated March 22nd, 2024. The discussion of said document is the purpose for us going into closed session in order to get clarification, legal clarification on this document on certain matters. And so is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make the motion that we go into closed session pursuant to 610.021 subsection 1 for purpose of discussion of confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body and its attorneys.
It has been properly moved by Secretary Pam Walker. Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Been seconded by Board Member James Darm. On this, we're going to need you to, I believe, show your faces when we vote. I'll go down the list. All in favor of the motion, I'll call the roll. James Darm.
Aye.
Hillary Stuckey. Pam Walker.
Aye.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess we saw her face. Thomas Lawson.
Aye.
He has to be there.
Ornitha Lewis Walls.
Okay.
Miss Ornitha.
She's still on mute, Ansvar. Arnita is the Galaxy SE.
Yeah, I'm hitting asking her to unmute.
There you go.
There you go. Miss Lewis Walls, are you in favor of going into closed session?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. It has been properly moved and seconded. The vote is unanimous. The chair votes aye. And so we'll go into closed session for the purpose stated. I don't suspect we'll be any longer than about 15 minutes for the public, for those who are with us. So please, if you will indulge us, at least for the next 15 minutes. And I guess, how will we do this? My technical genius, are you going to just send us to another room?
I believe we're all here that's supposed to be here. I think I sent everyone to the waiting room.
Okay. All right, so board members, we wanted to, and I'm glad Mr. Garvin's here, we just wanted to make sure that we were clear as a board as to the direction and the directives that this particular document is giving us. I want to ask this first question, though, to the Deputy Commissioner. As the executive order is calling upon the DOC to establish and or provide protocols. As we see in number 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Correct.
Are these protocols, has the DOC already established these protocols, or are we in the process? What is the update on this? And I know you only received the document on Friday, but I think that in order for the board to be able to intelligently have a conversation about the document, we need to at least know where we are as it relates to the establishment of those particular protocols.
I do believe that many of the protocols are embodied in the recent policies and procedures that the board adopted recently. However, I think there are some that are not. And so I would request that we have some opportunity to go back to the ones that the board has adopted, review those and draft protocols specifically to the executive order, as well as those that might not be included in the order. As an example, while we don't have prescribed protocols governing the non-interference, we
Right.
certainly have a practice that's been in place, and I believe that Attorney Garvin can attest to that. We've already received some notices from the police commissioner as well as the city council's office advising us of civil litigation and at least FIU investigation concerning complaints that we had pending in the office. And the practice that we have utilized is to immediately stay those cases, putting them in suspension. So we have a practice, and I suppose we can formalize that practice within the rules and come back with the board for
Okay.
a modified version of what the board has already adopted.
Okay, because it's my understanding from reading this on the first page, the mayor is asking us to at least submit, I suspect in writing, those protocols to her office on or before June 5th. So that's my understanding. Mr. Garvin, is that the same way you read it? That we at least, okay.
Yes, I do read it that way. I think the way I read this, and I'll confess, I didn't know that you were going to ask me about this order today, but
That's
the way
okay.
I read this order is all these things are supposed to be accomplished by June 5th or
Okay.
earlier.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Garvin. Let me ask this question too. There's nothing in this executive order that prohibits or precludes the board or the staff of working as they have been working. I guess that's a question. I just want to make sure that there's nothing in here that restricts the board or the staff from working in compliance to the ordinance 71647.
Well, it's the current ordinance is 71749.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
meant it.
that's-
Yeah. Okay. 71749.
And if your question is, can the board proceed as it has been in the past? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
That's a little closer question, I think. And if you give me a day or two, I can answer that. And I'll tell you the conflicting thoughts I have on that if you want.
Yes, please.
In the ordinance itself, and if you notice in the third whereas clause in the executive order, it refers to these as preparatory actions, and that operational dates of the actions referenced in the ordinance may be held in abeyance, which I take to be pending the accomplishments of the accomplishment of all the things in this executive order. I don't know if that means the DFOB should wait until these things are accomplished before it proceeds under the ordinance. I haven't fully thought through that. I just read this for the first time this morning, so.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to give you an off the cuff answer that might be wrong. I'd like to give it some thought if that's okay with you.
No, I think that's exactly what we're asking for. We want to make sure that we are in compliance, not only with the ordinance, but also with the executive order. We don't want to do anything out of order.
Okay.
Any board members, based on the questions that I've asked the representative from the city council's office, I do have a couple of other questions, but I want to pause there. I don't want to get too far in the weeds. Any other board members have any questions along the line of what's been asked? Okay. Well, Lord have mercy. I mean, I'm not doing too bad today then. I do want to ask Pam that based upon number 2, and the information that you requested at the previous meeting, Secretary Walker, does number 2 address your request for the information?
Sort of.
Okay.
Mike, just to give you a little background, what I'm hoping to get is information from corrections, the coroner's office, the fire department, and the 2 major hospital systems from 2019 on about illnesses, deaths, transporting to hospitals or wherever for illnesses. And I thought we might have to hire an outside counselor to file a sunshine request, because I don't think Barb Burkett can file a sunshine request to herself.
Right.
So that was my question. And I think this helps in that it mentions the circuit attorney, the medical examiner, and the sheriff.
Right.
But I'm really trying to get at the medical aspects. So I would also like the fire department and EMS included in that. And then I don't know how to get to the hospital data other than to just ask them for unnamed, redacted information of people that have come to them from the jails. So the short answer, Reverend Gray, is it sort of does, because we'll have a protocol in place to get information from the medical examiner,
right,
but it doesn't mention a protocol to get information from the fire department.
Okay.
I will say something in response to that. You don't have to file sunshine requests in order to get information. The boards can request information separate and apart from sunshine.
Okay, but with this, we need a protocol in place to do that before we can do that.
That would be it. And I was writing down what you said. You're looking for information on all illnesses?
No, just deaths and transport to hospitals.
Death by ambulance, you mean, or just any?
Yeah.
Okay.
That gives us a handle on deaths, overdoses, that sort of thing.
Okay.
We've seen a pretty in-depth news article about the medical system there, and then it kind of went off the rails in 2020, 2021. And that the cities actually sued him along with 1,000 other people who have sued him across the country. And then we've had people make accusations that there have been more deaths and overdoses than what has been reported. So I just kind of like to get to the truth of that by seeing the data ourselves rather than go on speculation, rumor, national news articles. You know, I really don't have a feeling for what happened or why. I do note that since they fired that company and have brought in another company and have involved the health department, as far as we know, there have been no deaths or overdoses since they did that. You know, that may be something y'all are very well looking at already because you're suing the provider, the city is. But anyway, that was just my thoughts and what I thought would be informative, so that when people call us and say, hey, there's more people dying than you know about, we can say, well, you know, really, we looked at the data from every place and this is what we found. You know, we just don't have an answer to those questions.
When you say overdoses, you mean people who died of an overdose or just anyone who overdosed?
Anyone who died or was bad enough that they had to be transported to the hospital.
Okay. Well, yeah, if we narrow it, well, you originally said illnesses, that I was worried that was going to be a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to know about colds and that sort of thing.
Right. Okay.
That's why I was thinking I need an attorney, because I need to ask the question right.
I'm sure you could ask the question right. But I'd be happy to help. You know, deaths and ambulance transports should not be that difficult to assemble.
Okay.
I'm not sure about people who are transported with overdoses. I'm not sure how often that happens, or if they really can tell. They may suspect an overdose, but they may not know.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to see the other end with the hospital data. To see how they documented it on their end.
I'm not sure how. I don't have an immediate idea how to get data from the hospital if they don't want to provide it, but I'll give it some thought.
Okay.
So Mr. Garvin, so I guess I'm asking then, based upon Secretary Walker's request, if, and you've jotted it down, if that's something that the city, if you're saying that we don't need a sunshine request to request that information, then if Secretary Walker puts that in writing from the board requesting that and sends you a copy of that draft, is it to look at, to make sure that what we're doing does not violate any laws. Is that something that we ought to be doing? Is that the correct process?
That's certainly a prudent process. If, for instance, if Director Walker wants to send a draft to, normally it'd be Barb, I'd be happy to help her. And she may have suggestions on how to make it more definite or streamline it so you get what you want, and there won't be an objection based on the large volume of stuff that people would have to go through. Sometimes we can help people streamline requests.
Okay. Secretary Walker, you're satisfied with that? Will you follow through with that?
Yes, that would be great. I'll work with Barb and get her a draft.
Okay.
And then we'll of course bring it back to the board for a vote before it goes anywhere.
Okay. Deputy Commissioner Bonner, in number 6, and we've already, I thought that we had already presented the rules, policies, and procedures for how we conduct business. But
You do,
yeah.
that's correct. And those were done in the prior commissioner.
Right.
They may need to be reviewed in light of all the changes, because those rules, I don't know that much has changed in the way you elect officers and how you deal with vacancies. That's pretty much what your board rules do. How
Right.
you conduct your meetings, that sort of thing. I don't know that much will be needed to be changed, but I think we can certainly take a look at them. While we have Mr. Garvin, I want to going back to 2 and 3, and I'm understanding that there will be a letter developed going to the various entities that Secretary Walker is interested in gaining access to information right now. I mean, immediately. I'm more interested in the negotiation and the establishing of protocols that the order is calling for with respect to getting that information. I understand that from what I'm getting from you, those protocols will not have to be a prerequisite to moving forward with the letter to requesting that. But I would be also interested in the compliance that's requiring a negotiation with all of those offices, as well as establishing the protocols. And maybe we can incorporate those into the broader policies and procedures for the division and the support to the DFOB and CLB.
Or you're asking a question?
Well, I'm kind of asking for some confirmation that the protocols will not need to be negotiated and put in writing prior to your seeking the information, or Ms. Walker and Barbara Katz requesting that information.
Right.
Well, the information that Ms. Walker requested, I don't think it would delay that. It probably depends on the information that's being requested. You'll
Okay.
probably have to go case by case.
Yeah, I didn't want to lose sight of that part of the order.
Good. Thank you. And just the final thing on number 6. I know that we've done an annual report. The annual report has been completed. But and I don't remember, is a copy of those rules incorporated in the annual report that was completed, Deputy Commissioner?
Oh, I can't. Ooh, it's been so long since we did that annual report. I can't remember. I know policies and procedures were, but I'm not certain that the conduct of business for the board rules. Remember, we've been saying there's a distinction.
Right.
4A
Right.
under the ordinance is about investigative policy and procedures, whereas 14A
Right.
deals with the board rules and procedures. And so I'd have to check on that, Reverend Gray.
Okay. And
Certainly,
okay, if it's not included in the report, it may just be suffice to distribute a copy of the report to the mayor's office, and then simply to include. I know the annual report is done because we approved it. And like I said, I just don't recall if that's in there. And if it's not in there, if this is something that's being requested by the mayor, I think that probably this is, out of all of it, this is probably the lowest of the low hanging fruit. So,
well, certainly we would be concerned about that going forward. But remember, this order just became effective on the 22nd.
right.
And the annual report that's already been submitted covered
Got
the
it.
prior fiscal year,
Understood.
or the
So,
prior year that's been identified. So certainly going forward, we can make sure
yeah.
all of that happens.
Okay.
And the only reason why it hasn't been distributed to anybody is because it hasn't been approved
By the Director of Public Safety.
by the director, correct?
Okay. We'll follow up on that. We might just need to send a written correspondence to the Director of Public Safety just to find out where that is in the process.
Okay, may I take advantage of Mr. Garvin once more?
Please do, please do.
One of the things that jumps out to me in the very brief reading that I've conducted, is that the order doesn't seem to require all of the collaboration around protocols and policies and procedures that I believe was called for under 71430. There's of course mention of the city councilor's office being involved in certain of these protocols. But I don't see that there is the requirement for collaboration on policies and procedures. It either directs the COB, DFOB, or the division to establish protocols. Is that your reading of the order as well?
I don't think so. What, are you talking about a particular section?
I'm talking about in general. For example, item 5 says, the Division of Civilian Oversight shall provide the protocols established pursuant to subsection 4. For saying the division shall establish protocols to ensure. So
Yeah, that's
it
for,
doesn't seem to require all of the collaboration which was required under the previous.
I think number 5 is limited to the procedures described in paragraph 4.
Interference.
Right, that is limited to the interference. But number 6, who somebody just mentioned, mentions the city councilor. And then Act 2 and 3 referred to other offices that had to be consulted.
Consulted or distributed to.
Well, it says negotiate and establish with the circuit attorney, the medical examiner, and the sheriff in 2 and 3. So I think it depends which items you're talking about.
Okay. Well, 2, certainly, I see even there, it talks about the COB negotiating and establishing. It doesn't require that those protocols be collaborated, even with the named officers here. But if you can kind of include that question in your analysis, that would be helpful for us.
I'm not sure I understand what the question is.
The question is 71430 required collaboration on policies and procedures with city councilor, commissioner of police, division of corrections. These are policies and procedures that govern the investigative process within the division. And even under 7.1, the most recent one, I believe there were certain of that collaboration was excluded. If in fact the order is limited to the division only being responsible for establishing protocols for the identified policies and procedures, I'm trying to find out whether or not there's still the collaboration on any other policies and procedures that has to be identified.
All right, well, the order is what it is, but I don't think it limits or removes any requirements that are established in the most recent ordinance. So the most recent ordinance still applies, and this order may be limited to certain aspects of that.
Okay, can you include that though in your analysis? Just have it in writing so there's some clarification, because one of the sticking points with the last policies and procedures, the most recent one that the board just adopted, was whether or not they had to go through all of the people that it went through.
The collaborative process, yeah.
Yes. Can we talk offline?
Send me that question in writing if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Okay.
We'll do.
All right.
I just want to make sure I'm answering the question that you want answered.
Okay, no problem.
In number 8, the city council shall, in conjunction with the Department of Personnel, fill the position of internal special counsel as defined in the mandate. I just want to know, I think, and the board can correct me if I'm wrong, and no disrespect to the city councilor's office, but we want to begin that process. And so it does say that that the city councilor and Department of Personnel shall fill the position. We do understand what the ordinance says. 3 recommendations from the city councilor's office to be presented to DFOB. What do we need to do now, or does this executive order begin that process of the city councilor and the Department of Personnel meeting that request, or do we still have to make that request in writing? So I just want to make sure that if the executive order is saying that, is directing the city councilor and the Department of Personnel to fill the position, if there's anything that we need to do in addition to this executive order to make that happen.
There's nothing you need to do in addition to the order, but I sense there may be a misunderstanding on this point.
Okay.
The new ordinance says there shall be appointed internal special counsel, which is what this order refers to. And there's also a provision where the city councilor may appoint external special counsel. And I have a feeling you may have been just asking about
You're right. I was asking about the external. You're right. You're absolutely right. Thank you. See, that's why you're here. Okay. Because I mean, my understanding, Mr. Garvin, is that with Barbara and the fact that when she's not available, we've always had someone from the city councilor's office available to us at every meeting. So we've never had a problem with internal counsel. And so I'll ask Secretary Walker then, based upon our last meeting and the information that you required, Mr. Garvin is saying that based upon the information that you're requesting, we don't need a sunshine request. The discussion that we had as a board, we felt that we needed an external counsel if we needed to pursue the sunshine request. So are you comfortable, Secretary Walker, with putting the request of an external counsel on hold until we see how the request that you've mentioned, how that pans out?
Yes, I'm fine with that, and also seeing how this special internal counselor is any different from what Barb Burkett does, if at
Right.
all.
Okay. That's fair.
I don't have a good understanding under the ordinance of how that might look different than what we already have with Barb.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you one thing, and I can't recite the ordinance off the top of my head, but the internal special counsel is designed to be walled off from other attorneys in the city councilor's office. The acronym or the name they use is like a Chinese wall. And they're not supposed to communicate information they learn from the oversight staff or boards to other attorneys in the office, except perhaps the city councilor. And that's laid out in the ordinance in section 4E. That will be the difference. Right now, you're right, you have Barb, but none of these restrictions are placed on it. So.
Okay, I think as chair, I agree with Secretary Walker. I'd like to see how that pans out. We've stressed our concern over the last couple of years, but I would like to see how the internal special counsel, how that would work out, because that may or may not solve the address the concerns that board members have had. So, and then finally for me, would be number 10. I know that we typically, and Deputy Commissioner Barner, I'll probably ask you to chime in on this. I know that what we've done is to follow, as far as our meetings, we always plan our meetings at least, I mean, a couple of weeks before. I mean, I don't think that and I'm trying to recall emergency meetings where we've had to just call people within the span of a 48 hours, 72-hour span. I don't recall. We may have. But I think that we always set our meetings on our meeting date, and they are usually at least a couple of weeks out. But I think here it is specifically saying, from my understanding of this, that we have to make sure now that we send our notice of our meetings and tentative agenda to these specific entities before our meetings. And so, I mean, before, I think it was just a public notification. But if I'm reading this correct, it's now saying that we need to make sure that we include these particular positions in our notice of meetings. I'm just, and I guess in my head, I've already answered the question, but I just want to be clear that that's what it's saying. It's now just saying, when you have your meetings, please notify these people that you're having your meetings at least 7 days before the meeting. I think I answered my own question, didn't I? Deputy Commissioner, Mr. Garvin, I guess, and that's what it's saying. I guess it's just adding that. Okay, I think I'm clear unless somebody tells me that my reading and my understanding is wrong.
I think you're right. It does give you the out if it's impossible or impractical to do it.
Yeah.
There can be an exception. So.
Okay. Any board members? I know that Secretary Walker and I have kind of gone over what we've extracted from it. Any other board members have any comments?
I have one more, Reverend Gray.
Yeah. Yes.
Number 7. My interpretation of that in 10 words or less is, if we're contacted by an attorney who represents a detainee or a guard or a corrections officer who has a complaint, we are restricted by number 7 to saying, I can't speak to you. Anybody else read that any differently?
Yeah, but I thought that what our practice has been, I know for some board members, that if we are approached, we normally refer them to the staff office anyway.
Right.
Yeah. I would be interested in what, and I think that the deputy commissioner may have already stated it, when they're dealing with investigations, they do it in conjunction, well, at least have some communication with the city attorney's office.
I'm just wondering why that's in there and where it came from and what caused that 7 to be put in there.
Yeah.
Because I'm not hanging up on somebody. I'm going to say, okay, here's a process for how you file a complaint for your detainee and call Ruby or the city counselor.
Well, there has been a recent reiteration for obtaining consent of detainee representatives prior to being provided a date or time for interviewing. And so we do have a form that we have been sending out, asking, letting the attorney of record know that we'd like a an interview or meeting with the detainee client of theirs and having them sign off on our form. Our form is not quite in compliance with 7, but the Division of Corrections has come up with one. And this is very recent and may have been in conjunction with what the chairperson reported with respect to his request to meet with dorm reps. They have a form that requires us to get a written consent from the attorney of record prior to them being able to set a date for us to interview them. And if the attorney indicates that he or she wishes to be present during the interview, that triggers contact with the city councilor, because as I read this, even if the attorney says, yes, I want to be present, we have to let the city councilor know so that the city councilor can then have a representative present while that detainee counselor is there. That's what I'm kind of honing in on for 7. And I don't know if we're precluded from contacting the attorney that represents the detainee. How do we get the consent that the Division of Corrections is requiring before we can interview them? Am I not reading that right, Michael?
Do you mind if I comment? Anybody?
Yeah, please, please.
I was not involved in drafting this, but I take it differently. The civilian oversight employees and the respective boards are, I'll put in quotes, the city. And when we're in litigation with somebody about allegations of things that occurred in corrections or an employee who believes they were wronged, it's not proper for the opposing party's attorney to be contacting city employees directly without the city councilor's office or city's attorneys involved. And I think that's what this is designed to address, is not so much these scheduled interviews. It's when our city defenders is communicating with our oversight staff when they're suing us on multiple fronts related to corrections.
That's not happening to my knowledge, though, but
Well,
go ahead, use that hypothetically.
No, I've seen it directly. So that has happened.
Wow.
But I'm using that as an example. And I think that's what this is designed to stop, where we have our opponents in litigation communicating directly with city officials. Now, that's my interpretation. I wasn't involved. I haven't talked to anyone. I may be off on that, but that's how I took this provision when I read it.
Mr. Governor, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One additional item on those interviews that Reverend Gray was talking about, the attorneys were given the option of waiving their not showing up at all. They weren't required to be at that at those board, whatever, I can't remember the term you used, but when you were going to meet with the inmates, the attorneys weren't required to be there. They were allowed to waive and say it's okay with me if you talk to them. And it seemed that you thought maybe they were all required to be there, but that was not the case. The problem is they wouldn't waive. They all wanted to be there.
Okay. You know, and Mr. Garvin, it would have been good if that was explained to us. I think that when we don't get an explanation, it leaves us with, you know, just trying to figure out what's going on. So I do appreciate the explanation. I appreciate the information you've given us. Once again, as an oversight board, all we're trying to get is information to do our jobs. We don't want to be confrontational. We don't want to be contentious. We just want to do our jobs. And as Secretary Walker indicated, the more information we have, the better we can respond. As it relates to number 7, as Secretary Walker said, what what I want to make sure we're clear about so that board members and staff are not doing anything illegal or inappropriate. If someone contacts a board member about a situation, I know that not all board members, but most board members, well, the board members that are on the board now, what we do is refer them to the staff. How the staff then proceeds is based upon whatever protocol or SOP that the staff operates under. But as board members, and I don't think that any of us have been approached by attorneys, but we have been approached by third parties. And what we do is refer them. So I understand that this means if we're approached by an attorney, I suspect that all of our board members know that if we're approached by an attorney, especially the board members who are on the board now, we do have a staff, and that the board members should refer any cases or any allegations or complaints, because we've made it very clear as a board, it's not our job to investigate. It's our job to receive complaints, receive reports from the staff, and then make a review and a determination based upon those reports. So I think that the board is clear about its role here. And I'm like Secretary Walker, I don't want anybody to think, just to be honest with you, if somebody calls me about a complaint, I'm going to refer them to the staff. I'm not going to have a conversation. I'm going to refer them to the staff.
That's great.
Yeah. All right. Any other board members? Any observations, questions, either to the representative from the city council's office or from our deputy commissioner regarding the executive order? Any board members? Any questions? All right, then I think that I will hold off on I did want to ask Mr. Garvin what the process would be to subpoena someone, but I'm prepared as the chair to hold off on even asking what the process is. I'll wait to see how Secretary Walker's request is resolved. I think that if it is resolved, then I don't think there's any need for any subpoenas or anything like that. I think that, and I hope that you can see, Mr. Garvin, we want to work with people. We want to work within the process. We just want to be able to do our work. So I'll hold off on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other board members? If there are no other questions then to Mr. Garvin, then is there a motion to go back into the public meeting? We need a motion to go back.
I'll make the motion to go back.
Thank you very much, Tom. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Been moved by Tom, seconded by James. All in favor, say aye.
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 Contrary minded, motion carries. Let's go back into our public meeting.
All right, you only got one person. I'm letting you know.
Okay, good. That means our meeting won't be that much longer. I think that we've covered basically what we wanted to cover in it. But I do want to make sure that we give opportunity for public comment, at least if we mention it. And then we need to schedule our next meeting. So let's go back in. Let me know when we're back in.
We're back in.
Okay. And so we're now back in our public meeting. We'd like to open it up for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to provide any public comment? If so, please raise your hand or state your name. Going once. Going twice. Anyone? Antoine, we don't have anyone.
Nope.
Okay. We discussed the new business. We discussed the executive order number 79 in our closed session. Again, I just want to reiterate for the record that we have placed it in record in the minutes. If anyone wants to get a copy of that, I'm sure they can contact the mayor's office. And it is public information. And then we will move forward with our observations and our responsibilities as it relates to responding to the executive order from the mayor. We want to schedule our next meeting. And
You got a hand up,
okay, who is the hand?
Ms. Webb.
Ms. Webb, I'll go back. We did ask if there was any mention, but I'll go ahead and recognize you, Ms. Webb. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, sorry about that. I couldn't
That's
unmute it
okay.
again.
That's perfectly okay. I understand.
But my question to the board is, you have subpoena power, so while you're waiting to get into the dorm reps or whatever, why can't you request the videos and the documentation or whatever else you need in the meantime?
And that is up, I'm sure, and I'll ask the deputy commissioner to respond to that. If there are pending investigations that are being conducted by the staff, what my understanding is that the executive order that we received requires us to have some type of protocol in place in order to do that, in order to access that information, be it the CAMs or whatever. Is that what you understand as well, Deputy Commissioner?
Well, certainly we, on the COB side, we do have access to those kinds of documents, the video cams and the whole 9 yards, set up for allegations against police. We do not have specific protocols beyond the ordinance saying we have the right to have access. We don't have specific protocols in place for actually requesting that kind of information on the correction side.
Okay. And that is something, Ms. Webb, that the executive order is now requiring us to have, and something that has been referred to our staff to put into place. And Ms. Webb, again, and I thank you. You've been very diligent. We are trying to move as quickly as humanly possible within the process, and we are. And so if you have any specific concerns or questions, I would urge you to call the office and speak to Ms. Bronner or members of her staff. And I'm sure that if you have specific concerns about a case, that they would be more than happy to sit down with you and accommodate you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Webb. And I only go backwards on the agenda for you. You're the only one.
I know.
No,
It takes me forever to figure out this unmute thing,
No, listen.
but I do appreciate it.
We want to be accountable to the public, and we want to be as transparent as possible. For the board, based upon the executive order, I know that this was a special meeting in order to respond. We didn't know that we'd be getting the executive order, so I'm glad we had this meeting tonight. It was helpful. And we know that we have a deadline of June 5th in order for the DFOB and for the staff to address issues and concerns and obligations that were made in the executive order. And so as we are looking, I guess we can go back to how much time. I'm going to ask our deputy commissioner, and I want to make sure that I don't try to have a meeting when Barbara's not available anymore. But do we want to look at the end of April? The 29th of April for our next meeting? Unless, obviously, unless there is something that comes up, but
That's always gonna be a problem for Barb, though.
the 29th, there are 5 Mondays in April. That's why I picked
Oh,
up.
is that a fifth?
Yeah,
Oh, that's a fifth Monday, so maybe
Yes.
not then.
yeah.
I'm
That-
not sure what she
that's
has
why-
going on
that's
the
why-
fifth Monday. Michael, do you?
Yeah, that's why I pushed it way out, because I wanted to make sure, and I know that the 15th may not give us enough time to do everything that we need to do. So if board members don't object, then I'm going to ask that the next meeting be scheduled for Monday, April the 29th. And we will be in compliance with the ordinance, because we'll make sure that we notify those who the executive order have identified. We'll make sure that we give them proper notification.
Yeah, I mean, the date, you're right. The fact that the board almost always gives us plenty of time for the actual meeting.
Yeah.
What we run into problems with is identifying the tentative agenda
Right.
prior to the posting. So that's the thing we'll need to do, is whatever items board members want on the agenda, such that we can at least send a tentative agenda to these additional people that we have not given notice of our meetings before.
I think that if we make a firm, particularly in this one, for any board members who have items to be placed
You want
on.
these $3 a quarter?
Yeah. If any board members who have items to be placed on the agenda for the 29th would at least have those items to the staff, to me, or the staff by the 15th of April. And if we can communicate that to the board, just to as a reminder, that at least by the 15th of April, if you have any items to be placed on the agenda, if we can get that by the 15th, then that gives us more than enough time to have those agenda items sent out to the respective parties.
I'm sorry, Chair, you're asking that staff send out a reminder of the 25th meeting and request for all items
Yes, please.
before, on the
Yeah, before-
15th, or I'm didn't
I
follow.
would say that no later than the 15th.
no later than, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, well, let me ask you this, Deputy Commissioner, because I know y'all are extremely busy.
I'm still having problems with hearing you.
I'm
And I
sorry.
don't know, I've been having all kinds of problems with my computer, so it's probably on this end.
It probably is. If the meeting is the 29th and we have to give notice 7 days prior, it means that we have to give notice at least by the 22nd. So maybe we should say by the week of the 15th, instead of on the 15th, that board members should have their items in by the week of the 15th.
Okay, and if there's going to be some, some work for the staff, those would be better sooner than later.
Yes. All right.
Okay, thank you. That helps. And thank you, Michael.
All right. All right. Board members, is there anything else to come before this board? Any other business to come before this board? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Been moved by Mr. Darm and seconded by?
I'll
I
second it.
second.
Seconded by Ms. Lewis Walls. All in favor, say aye.
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 Contrary minded, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
May I ask Mr. Dom to please contact the office tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
We don't seem to have current information for you, Board Member
Okay.
Dom.
Cause listen, if you don't have it, that means he didn't want you to have it by now. Deputy Commissioner, hey James, after 2 years.
We're
if they
also
don't have
having
it-
some
if they
contact
don't have it
issues
by
for
now,
board member Stuckey. She's not on the call tonight, is she?
no, she's not on tonight. Teddy Penn, no, it was Harold Melvin in the Blue Note said, if you don't know me by now, you'll never, ever know me. I know that group is way too old for most of you. So I'm sorry. I'm telling my age.
All right.
Thank y'all very much.